The random is just standing there. He's just standing there. Like, what are you doing?
Oh my god.
Don't worry, Gavin. The random is.
Those kids who were in Oxford literally just like the kids who got pissed, they live right here. This is their base.
Oh,
I'm
I'm gonna fuck with him. I'm gonna fuck with him.
Slump!
No! Dumbass! One door.
Turn off the torch! There's someone
not
shooting
funny.
an AK!
Dude, it's not funny. 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 Dude, it's not. Dude, it's not funny. Dude, it's not. Dude, it's not funny.
It's not funny. It's not funny. It's not funny. It's not funny. It's not funny. Oh my god, it's not funny. It's not funny. It's not funny. It's not funny. It's not funny.
You guys took
We have got to go.
100 through and flat right to the crest.
Man, there's bugs in my skin, there's bugs in my skin.
200.
Yeah. Yeah. Who is that? Oh, I know. The demons in my closet. My schizophrenic, like, awake demons. They're following me, watching my every move.
They tell me not to take the medicine. Medicine's bad for me.
Opens
Medicine
yeah.
with my friends with away.
6 right long.
The shadow people are my friends.
Extra long.
The fleshy meat walls weren't harmful. Actually, they were trying to be helpful. They're trying to be helpful.
50. 6 left of a crest.
What's he going
Yeah.
to do? Oh, look at him.
6 right.
About that.
Backwards of a crest to keep middle of a
It's like that,
crest.
though, it's like that,
80.
it's like that.
Dip. And keep middle of a jump into Sutton.
God, maybe if I killed a homeless man, everything would be solved or something. I don't know.
40. 6
I would
left of a jump
love to
long,
kill a homeless man.
100.
Well, not that one, but yeah, sure.
No, I think he's onto something.
Early 5.
I would love to kill homeless men.
I don't
Or
know, like,
women.
like,
Or
geez.
women. I do not care.
How's that work? Execution. How's that work?
Mexican people saying the N-word?
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
I wanna.
It's more of a mutual agreement of oppression.
What?
If you know, you know, okay?
Wait, do you want to use this giant jump or this these things?
So you're saying I can give you the pass?
Oh boy. Oh boy.
I should have ran these.
Exactly. He's cheating. He's playing Fortnite and we're playing checkers.
Slump, you're getting dunked on. Slump, you're getting bullied. Slump, you're playing offense.
How about you do something?
How about you do something, bro? We got 2 goals on you.
So we don't get the fucking I'm leaving.
everything in the anime. Oh,
What?
you know that AI that?
Oh, I've
yeah.
seen that.
What is it? What is that
Let me
called?
zoom out.
What the fuck are you doing?
Don't worry about it. You like the emote?
How do I do a snippet of my screen? How do I use the snipping tool?
On Windows, it's very straightforward.
Thanks. Oh shit!
Jake.
Oh shit! I fucking killed it. Wait.
Bitch, you wanna go and see what happens? You wanna see what happens? You wanna see what happens here?
It's going down. Oh shit.
I got armor. It's fucked up.
You fucking suck. You missed.
Why is my Minecraft not
Hello. Slump. The game crashed again. That's how I feel.
I
So
can hear
loud,
you.
it's like
I
cutting
definitely
out.
heard that.
That's what I was looking at, dude.
I want to see. I want to see
ready to
this.
heal.
Oh, what?
I don't have B Obama.
Sad.
Dude, I tried to get him to make one a while ago and he wouldn't when we
Eric,
first
make it
got
be real.
Okay.
Which one, the
Obama.
Nicki Minaj one, or?
Oh, so just okay. That's fine. That's fine. When I asked like months ago.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I don't like
You're
you,
a
Sarah.
faggot. I don't want to hear you're a faggot.
I don't like
you're a
you,
pussy,
Sarah.
you're a faggot,
I don't
you're
like
a
you,
cunt,
Sarah.
You're a
Sarah,
fucking
you know what
whore.
would make you? You
Shut
know what would make me like
up.
you? If you,
You know what?
killed your.
What?
That was so
Kill her.
rude.
Kill your mother. Kill
Sarah,
your mother.
attack the cat per cut per.
That's about it.
Just like your mama. Your mama looks pretty.
Thanks.
Laugh.
That was funny.
Boom.
Oh no.
I'm gonna blow my head off in front of your family.
Forever change the trajectory of your life.
Just the plain face. Hi, Ethan.
Wow, holy shit, that's crazy.
It's almost like we could have guessed that.
What?
I guess,
What are you talking? Isn't? Give me my fucking drink. Fuck you.
It's Mercy. What the fuck is this Mercy doing?
Dude, I hate the Mercy.
Good night. Good
Guess what I'm playing. Just guess, Gavin.
Guys, Tori is about to lose his virginity tonight.
No way.
Hopefully,
Yes! He's about to fuck a bitch who's mentally insane.
Honestly,
You know it's gonna be
craziest
grippy
pussy
then.
known to mankind.
Oh God.
Is going. We all on the same wavelength. We all on the same wavelength.
It's been a minute since you saw